Welcome to Zoe Stories. Teacher caught me with lipstick. Now I'm the class beauty. The hallway lights buzzed faintly as I leaned against the cool metal of my locker, pretending to scroll through my phone. Another day at Rosefield High. Another day keeping secrets. My name's Jason. 17. Average grades, quiet in class, the kind of guy teachers forget to call on, and other students overlook completely. I wasn't the class clown, the athlete, or the genius. I was just there. But that's only what people saw. What they didn't see, what I couldn't let anyone see, was the small box I kept tucked deep beneath my bed. Inside were the things that made my heart race in ways I couldn't explain. A pair of red heels, a silky blouse I'd swiped from my cousin's old closet, and an assortment of makeup I'd slowly, guiltily collected over the past year. Lipsticks, mostly. Deep reds, soft pinks. Every shade felt like a secret I could taste. I didn't know what that said about me exactly. I just knew it felt right, even if I couldn't say it out loud. Especially not to Mia. Mia. My girlfriend. She was everything I wasn't. Confident, stunning, always the center of attention. Her dark curls bounced when she walked, and her laugh could turn heads from classrooms away. I loved being around her, loved the way she made me feel seen. But she had expectations. I wasn't just her boyfriend. I was supposed to be her man. Her protector, her rock. She said it with a smirk, always half-joking. But I heard it in the way she rolled her eyes when I hesitated to kill a spider, or when she told me, "Babe, you're sweet, but you could stand to be a little more alpha sometimes." I never knew how to respond. I'd just smile and nod, the shame curling inside like smoke. How could I tell her that instead of being more alpha, I'd spent last night practicing applying mascara while whispering her makeup tutorial videos like prayers? We'd been dating for almost 8 months, and I still hadn't let her see the real me. Not even a crack. I lived in fear that she'd find out. That she'd laugh, or worse, pity me. We were close. She'd even started talking about prom. I could already hear her giddy voice. "We'll look perfect together." And I'd smile, pretending to imagine myself in a tux, when deep down all I could think about was wearing something different. Flowing. Elegant. Something that matched the way I felt when I was alone. I wasn't even sure what label to give myself. I didn't think I was trans. At least, I hadn't thought that far. All I knew was that when I wore those things, when I saw myself in the mirror with blush across my cheeks and a dab of color on my lips, I felt real. Like, I wasn't pretending anymore. But pretending is what I was best at. After all, no one suspected a thing. Not even my best friend, Ethan, who thought my awkward silences were just emo moods, or my mom, who chalked up my quiet nature to being a teenager. It was safer that way. Until that day in 6th period. It started like any other Thursday. I'd stayed home sick on Wednesday and had left something behind in my locker. A little red tube of lipstick I'd stupidly packed in my backpack, hidden behind a paperback novel no one would ever borrow. I'd meant to take it home after school, but I was feeling anxious and ended up rushing out without it. So now, with Mia off in chemistry class and the halls mostly empty, I ducked into my locker to retrieve it. My hands trembled as I searched behind my books. I grabbed it and held it in my palm, a cherry red tube I'd tried only once. I don't know what possessed me to twist it open. Maybe I wanted to remind myself what it looked like. Or maybe I needed to feel something real. I didn't hear the footsteps behind me until it was too late. You know, that shade really wouldn't work with your skin tone. I dropped the lipstick. Whipping around, my stomach dropped through the floor. There, arms folded and eyes full of amused shock, stood Miss Donovan, my literature teacher. She wasn't cruel, but she was sharp. Observant. The kind of teacher who could spot a misspelled word across the room. I'd always thought I was invisible to her. But not now. I scrambled to explain, my throat tightening. It's not mine. I found it. She raised a single eyebrow. "Jason, you're holding it like it's made of gold." I froze. She crouched down, picked up the lipstick, and handed it back to me without another word. Then, with a curious tilt of her head, she simply said, "I see." Well, Perhaps I'll see you after class tomorrow. We can talk. Privately. And with that, she walked away, heels clicking down the hallway, leaving me standing there like I'd just stepped off a cliff. That night, I couldn't eat. Mia texted me about a meme and asked what I was doing, and I lied. Said I was studying. I was really just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, clutching the lipstick in my hand like it could answer the question screaming in my head. What does she know? What will she do? Was she going to tell the principal? My mom? Was she going to mock me in front of the class? Would Mia find out? Or worse, did she understand? That was the scariest thought of all. Not that she'd punish me, but that she saw me and wouldn't unsee it. The next morning was unbearable. I walked into school with a tight chest and darting eyes, convinced every glance was loaded with suspicion. Had Ms. Donovan said something? Had word gotten out? Did Mia know? But everything was normal. Too normal. Ethan gave me a lazy wave and asked if I'd studied for our physics quiz. Mia kissed me on the cheek and linked her arm with mine, chatting about her new prom dress ideas. The same hallway gossip buzzed around me. No one whispered. No one stared. Maybe Ms. Donovan really hadn't told anyone? Maybe she was going to pretend it never happened. I clung to that desperate hope like a life raft until fifth period. A folded note sat on my desk before I even sat down. It read, Room 208, after school. Be honest. D. Ms. Donovan. I stared at the handwriting, the looping cursive as elegant as her tone. There was no threat, just that maddening calm. All through the next 2 periods, my mind spiraled. What was she going to say? Was she going to lecture me? Tell me to man up? Offer to call my parents? My stomach twisted every time I imagined Mia finding out. That would break me. That would end everything. I nearly skipped it. Walked right past room 208 as the final bell rang. But I didn't. Ms. Donovan's classroom was eerily quiet. The blinds were halfway drawn. Only one light was on above her desk. She didn't look up when I stepped in. Close the door, Jason. My heart pounded as I obeyed, barely breathing. She glanced at me, then nodded to the seat in front of her desk. Sit. I did. She folded her hands. So, do you want to explain? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She raised an eyebrow. It's not a trick question. But I'll warn you, I won't accept a lie. If you tell me you found the lipstick again, I'll consider our conversation over. I swallowed hard. It's mine. She nodded slowly. Good. That one word hit harder than any punishment. I stared at her, confused. Ms. Donovan leaned back slightly. You're not the first student I've caught hiding something. And you won't be the last. But Jason, what you do in private doesn't make you wrong. Or broken. Then why did you call me in? I asked, my voice cracking. She gave a soft, almost maternal smile. Because I think you need help. The kind you're too afraid to ask for. I blinked. Help. To understand yourself. To express yourself. You're not in trouble, Jason. But I saw the look in your eyes yesterday. You weren't afraid of me. You were afraid of being seen. That made my stomach twist. She was right. I nodded, unable to speak. She stood and walked to a cabinet in the corner. From it, she pulled out a soft, black duffel bag. I mentor a few students every year in private expression projects, she said as she placed it gently in front of me. Art, poetry, fashion, gender expression. Things the school doesn't officially endorse, but things that matter to kids who are figuring out who they are. She looked me in the eye. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be honest. With yourself. I looked down at the bag. Inside were clothes. Feminine. Neatly folded. And a small makeup pouch. I looked up at her, stunned. This is for me? It's a start, she said. If you want it. But what if someone sees me? What if Mia? She gently touched my hand. This isn't about Mia. Or your parents. Or the school. It's about you. And if you're not ready to talk about that, that's okay. But if you want to explore it, you'll have my support. I couldn't help it, I cried. Not loud sobs, just hot, silent tears. The kind you don't even know are falling until you feel them on your hands. And she didn't say anything. She just let me feel it. That night, I took the bag home. In my room, I locked the door, heart racing. I unzipped the bag slowly. Inside were a soft, sleeveless blouse, a pleated skirt, black tights, and a pair of simple flats. Modest, elegant, but exactly the kind of thing I'd never dare buy myself. The makeup pouch had the basics: foundation, concealer, eyeshadow, and, of course, lipstick. This one was a soft, creamy nude pink. I stared at my reflection for a long time before I even touched anything. My hand trembled as I pulled off my hoodie. One piece at a time, I changed. The tights slid up my legs smoothly. The skirt hugged my hips in a way that felt grounding. The blouse was soft against my skin. And when I finally looked in the mirror, really looked, I saw someone I recognized. Not Jason the boyfriend. Not Jason the invisible kid. But someone softer. Someone braver. Someone who wasn't pretending. It wasn't perfect. The makeup was uneven. The clothes weren't tailored. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like me. The next week passed in a daze. By day, I played the part. Jason the quiet boyfriend. Jason the under-the-radar student. But at night, I dressed. I explored. I experimented. Ms. Donovan didn't push. She just checked in. "How are you feeling?" she'd ask softly. Confused, I admitted. But also alive. One afternoon, she said something that stuck with me. "You don't have to pick a label yet, Jason. You just have to stop lying to yourself." But the double life was wearing on me. Mia started to notice something was off. "You okay, babe?" she asked one day during lunch, brushing her fingers through my hair. "You've been kinda distant." I forced a smile. "Just tired." She kissed my cheek. "Well, get some sleep. You're no fun when you're moody." And just like that, I felt the guilt slam into me again. I was hiding from her. Every secret I kept widened the gap between us. But I couldn't tell her. Not yet. Not until I understood who I even was. That Friday, Ms. Donovan made an offer that changed everything. "I'm organizing a private showcase for expression projects," she said. "Anonymous or masked presentations. If you want, you could try something. A way to express the version of yourself you're discovering." My breath caught. Like on stage. She nodded. Or behind a curtain. Or with a voiceover. "Whatever makes you feel safe." I bit my lip. Could I dress up? Her smile was gentle. Of course. She didn't call it crossdressing. She didn't label me. She just said, "Of course." Mia noticed. Of course she did. She always noticed. I could see it in her eyes every time I smiled a little too long or drifted off in thought. She'd tilt her head and study me like a puzzle with a missing piece. "You're not telling me something," she said one day as we walked home from school. I stiffened. "What do you mean?" "You've been acting weird. Secretive. Your texts are short. You barely look at me when we're alone. It's like you're somewhere else." I forced a laugh. "I've just been tired. School, homework." She grabbed my arm, stopping me. "Jason, I know you. Don't lie to me." That made it worse. Because part of me wanted to blurt everything out. To fall into her arms and say, "I'm scared. I don't know who I am. And I think I like seeing a girl in the mirror." But the other part of me, the terrified, protective part, locked the words in my throat. "I'm just stressed," I mumbled. She frowned. "You sure this isn't about us?" "No. I swear." I kissed her quickly. Too quickly. It felt staged. Weak. And I could see it in her eyes. She didn't believe me. At night, I avoided my phone. I ignored her texts. I didn't want to, but pretending to be the boyfriend she expected was exhausting. Instead, I wore the skirt and blouse again. Practiced my eyeliner. Got a little better at blending foundation. Brushed out a cheap brown wig I'd picked up with Ms. Donovan's help. Each time I looked in the mirror, she looked more real. Not perfect. Not polished. But real. And for the first time, I gave her a name. Jess. Not Jason in a costume. Not a fantasy. Jess. She wasn't some escape I was starting to think she might be me. Ms. Donovan had given me a challenge: perform something for the expression showcase. She didn't push, but she encouraged. Just a poem, or a song, or even a silent walk across the stage. I chose a spoken word piece. About hiding, about living with masks, about wearing lipstick and wishing someone would see me and not look away. The words weren't fancy, but they were honest. I practiced at home in the mirror, whispering the lines in Jess's voice. It was softer, higher, a little uncertain, but full of feeling. Maybe the real me wears skirts. Maybe the real me paints her lips soft pink. Maybe the real me is braver than I thought. Brave enough to be seen. Brave enough to stay. I cried the first time I said it out loud. It felt like a confession. And a promise. The night before the showcase, I got a message from Mia. We need to talk. Tomorrow. After school. Panic hit me like a wave. What did she know? Had someone told her? Had she followed me? Did she find the clothes? I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling all night, heart pounding. My mind raced with every worst-case scenario. She was going to break up with me. Scream. Call me disgusting. Tell everyone. By the time the showcase rolled around, my hands were trembling. Ms. Donovan found me backstage, already dressed as Jess. A soft, rose-colored dress with capped sleeves and a fluttery hemline. Light makeup. The same wig. Low heels. You okay? She asked. I think I'm going to throw up. She smiled gently. That means you're doing something brave. I nodded, throat dry. I peeked out at the audience. It was small, dim, mostly students and a few teachers. Nobody would know it was me. I wore a sheer mask, just enough to blur my face under the lights. I wasn't Jason. I was Jess. When I walked on stage, my knees nearly gave out. But then silence. Everyone watched. No laughter. No whispers. Just eyes. I closed mine and began. My voice is a whisper because it was never safe to shout. Each word built on the last. Each line peeled away another layer of the fear I'd buried for years. And when I finished, there was a moment of perfect stillness. Then, applause. It wasn't wild. It wasn't explosive. But it was real. Someone in the front row stood. Then another. A teacher. And Ms. Donovan. I walked off stage shaking. But not from fear. From release. From joy. From finally being seen. I changed in the bathroom afterward, slipping back into jeans and a hoodie. Back into Jason. But something was different now. Jason felt like a costume. Jess felt like truth. As I left the auditorium, Mia was waiting for me outside. Her arms were folded, her jaw tight. My blood ran cold. Hey, I said, trying to smile. We need to talk, she repeated. I nodded. Yeah, we do. She didn't speak for a second, just stared at me. Then, you've been lying to me. I looked down. I know. She stepped closer. What is it? Are you seeing someone? What? No. God, no. Mia, it's not that. Then what? What's so bad that you couldn't tell me? I hesitated. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't angry. She was hurt. And I couldn't lie anymore. I've been figuring something out, I said softly. About who I am. Her eyes searched mine. Are you gay? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. No. I don't think so. It's not about that. It's more complicated. She waited. I took a breath. I've been dressing. In private. And I performed tonight. At the showcase. Her eyes widened slightly. As a girl, I added. She blinked. Wait, like drag? I shook my head. No. Not drag. I think there's a girl inside me. I don't fully understand it yet. But when I dress like her, I feel real. She looked stunned. And then, slowly, her expression softened. Is that why you've been so distant? I nodded. I was scared. Of losing you. Of being hated. She was quiet for a long time. Then she stepped forward and hugged me. Tight. You should have told me, she whispered. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to. I just didn't know how. She pulled back and looked at me. So, what does this mean for us? I shook my head. I don't know. I don't want to hurt you. But I also can't go back to pretending. She nodded. I need time to think. But I don't hate you. Okay. That one sentence broke me. I sobbed. She held me. And for the first time in days, I didn't feel alone. The next day at school, everything felt different. I wasn't just Jason anymore. I was Jess. And somehow, the whole world seemed to know. As soon as I stepped into the hallway, whispers trailed behind me. Some were curious, some shocked, some cruel. But what surprised me most was the way the other girls looked at me. There was a softness, a smile, a nod, like I belonged. Mia found me at my locker, her eyes still searching. Morning, I said, voice catching. She smiled, small but real.
Morning.
Ready for the test today? I nodded, but the thought of concentrating felt impossible. Everything inside me buzzed with tension. Would Ms. Donovan find out? Would the other students? Would my parents? The bell rang. Class started. Ms. Donovan walked in, as usual, but her eyes flicked to me in a way that made my stomach flip. I caught her glance, and the slight smile that tugged at her lips. She stood in front of the class. Before we begin, she said softly, I want to acknowledge something important. The room quieted. Yesterday, one of you performed with courage and honesty. Jess, that was you. My heart pounded. Ms. Donovan continued, you showed us what it means to be brave. To be yourself, even when it's hard. That's the kind of strength we need in this world. There was applause. Some students clapped. Others just stared. But Mia smiled at me, and for a moment, I felt invincible. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with messages. Some from friends, some from strangers, all asking the same question. Are you really Jess? I didn't reply. I wasn't ready. Days passed. The teasing lessened. Some students began to include me in conversations. A few even asked me for makeup tips. Ms. Donovan started giving me encouraging looks. But then, things changed in the worst way. One morning, my locker was vandalized. A note stuck to it read, Lipstick boy, go back to where you belong. My hands shook. The words burned. I wanted to hide, but I didn't. Mia found me later in the cafeteria. Are you okay? She asked. I nodded, swallowing hard. I'm sorry you have to deal with this.
She sat down beside me.
We're in this together, okay? You're not alone. I looked at her, feeling tears prick my eyes. Thank you. That night, I sat at my desk. Jess stared back from the mirror. The girl who felt like home, but also like a target. I made a decision. I wouldn't hide anymore. I'd face the world as Jess, no matter what. The days grew heavier, like a storm pressing down on my chest. Every step I took in school was a tightrope walk. Was someone watching? Judging? Even Miss Donovan, who'd been my unexpected ally, now seemed different. She was kinder, yes, but also more distant, like she was guarding a secret. It all came to a head one Thursday afternoon during chemistry. Ms. Donovan asked me to stay after class. My heart jumped. Was this it? Was she going to call me out? Or worse, tell Mia? Tell my parents? I packed up slowly, my fingers trembling. When the last student left, Ms. Donovan closed the door quietly behind me. Her eyes searched mine. Jason, she said softly. Or Jess, I want you to know something important. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. She pulled out a small box from her desk drawer. Inside was a delicate tube of lipstick, the same shade I'd been caught with. I've been where you are, she whispered. For years, I hid who I was. But then someone gave me this, and it changed everything. Tears welled up. You're not alone. That night, I sat on my bed, clutching the lipstick. The weight of Ms. Donovan's words mixed with the fear of the note on my locker. I realized I wasn't just fighting schoolyard cruelty. I was battling my own doubt. But the lipstick felt like a secret weapon. A small spark of hope. The next morning, Mia waited for me outside school. Her smile was bright. Ready for the dance? My stomach flipped. The dance? I'd been so focused on hiding, I hadn't even thought about it. Mia took my hand. We're going as us. Us. She nodded. We'll face this together. In the weeks leading up to the dance, everything shifted. Ms. Donovan helped me pick an outfit. Mia taught me to walk in heels. Friends started to call me Jess, not Jason. But the pressure built. Every compliment felt like a test. Every glance, a challenge. On the night of the dance, the gym was a sea of swirling colors and flashing lights. I stood nervously by the punch bowl, heart racing. Mia squeezed my hand. Look at me, she said. I'm proud of you. Her words steadied me. Then, from across the room, I saw him.
Kyle.
The boy who'd once laughed when he saw me with lipstick. He was watching, smiling. But that smile wasn't cruel anymore. It was different, curious. Suddenly, the music stopped. A hush fell. Ms. Donovan stepped onto the stage. I want to say something, she announced. All eyes turned to her. She gestured toward me. Jess, would you join me up here? The gym held its breath. I stood, heart pounding, and walked to the stage. Ms. Donovan smiled warmly. Jess is one of the bravest students I've ever known. She reminds us that being true to yourself is the greatest courage. The crowd erupted in applause. I looked at Mia, who was beaming. And for the first time, I felt like I truly belonged. The applause still echoed as I stepped down from the stage, cheeks burning with a mix of pride and fear. I tried to steady my breath, but inside, a storm was raging. Kyle approached slowly, the crowd parting for him like a wave. Hey, Jess, he said, his voice softer than I expected. Hey. I managed, my hands trembling slightly. He smiled, but there was something in his eyes, curiosity, maybe respect. Look, I didn't get it before, but you're pretty amazing. The gym seemed to shrink around me. Was this real? Was Kyle, the boy who'd mocked me, actually accepting me? But then, the unexpected happened. From the back of the room, a harsh voice cut through the noise. Is this some kind of joke? It was Mark, the school's biggest bully. He stepped forward, eyes cold and hard. Jason?
Jess?
What's next? You're gonna ask us all to wear makeup? Laughter erupted from his group. My heart sank. I looked at Mia, who clenched her fists. Ms. Donovan stepped in quickly, her voice sharp. That's enough, Mark. But he wasn't done.
He pointed at me.
If you want to be the class beauty, fine. But don't expect us to take you seriously. The room filled with tension. I felt tears burn behind my eyes. This was the moment I'd feared. Would I crumble? Would everyone laugh? Mia stepped beside me. Jess is more real than you'll ever be, she said fiercely. Her courage gave me strength. I straightened, looked Mark in the eye. Being real is the only way to be. The gym fell silent. Then slowly a few students began to clap. Then more. Until the whole room was applauding. But the night wasn't over. As the dance resumed, I felt a sudden tug on my arm. Turning, I saw Ms. Donovan, her expression serious. Jason, can we talk? She led me to a quiet hallway. Her voice dropped to a whisper. There's something you need to know. My heart raced. What is it? She hesitated. There's been a complaint about your safety here. Safety?
Yes.
Some parents are upset. My mind reeled. Could this really be happening? Was my secret going to ruin everything? I looked at myself in a nearby mirror. The girl in the dress, the lipstick still perfect, the confidence fading. Could I fight this? Could I keep being Jess in a world that wanted me to disappear? Ms. Donovan's hand on my shoulder was steadying. We'll get through this.
Together.
But even as she said it, I knew the real battle was just beginning. The night wore on, but sleep wouldn't come. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. The events at the dance replayed endlessly in my mind. The applause, the stares, Mark's cruel words, and Ms. Donovan's quiet warning. Outside, the world felt like it was closing in. Would Mia still stand by me if the school pushed back? Would my parents understand? Could I keep my secret safe? The next morning, the note was waiting on my desk. A simple white paper with bold, black letters. Meet me after school.
Alone.
Someone watching. Fear twisted in my gut. Was it Mark? Or someone worse? I looked over at Mia, who smiled at me with warmth. Whatever happens, I'm here.
Her words were a lifeline.
But the meeting was no ordinary conversation. In the empty classroom, I faced a shadowy figure. The voice was low, threatening. You're making waves, Jess. That lipstick, the dress, the attention. It's not going to end well. I swallowed hard. Why are you doing this? A cold laugh. Because people like you don't belong. Not here. The threat hung heavy. I realized my life was no longer just about wearing lipstick or dresses. It was about standing up for who I was, or disappearing into silence. That night, I caught my reflection in the mirror again. Jess looked back, but I saw Jason's fear behind her eyes. Could I keep both worlds alive? Or was I destined to lose one? The door creaked open. A shadow filled the room. Jason, Mia whispered. We'll fight this. Together. What do you think? Will Jason stand tall against the threats? Will Mia's support be enough? Who sent the mysterious note? And will Ms. Donovan's help hold strong? Comment below with your thoughts and what you think should happen next.